Tiger invades hospital. Nurse bursts into tears when she discovers the reason. It was an ordinary night at the public hospital, or so everyone thought. Outside, the rain was pouring down like a waterfall, thunder cracked as if the sky was splitting open, and the wind rattled the windows. Inside, things were busy but nothing out of the ordinary. Doctors rushing back and forth, patients waiting, and the constant beeping of machines no one truly understands. Suddenly, a scream erupted from the main entrance. Not the kind of scream you hear when someone trips or gets startled. It was a scream of pure terror. A security guard came running, eyes wide, shouting, "There's a tiger! A tiger!" Everyone in the reception froze. A tiger? Here? In the middle of the city? It was hard to believe, but what happened next left no room for doubt. A massive tiger walked calmly through the hospital's automatic doors. It was soaked from the rain, its fur glistening under the lights, and in its mouth, it carried something small and fragile, a cub. The entire hospital descended into chaos. Screams echoed everywhere, people hid behind chairs, doctors and nurses locked doors, and even patients got up from their beds to see what was going on. But the tiger didn't seem to care about the panic. It walked slowly, with an expression that was almost determined, as if it knew exactly what it was doing there. Amid the chaos, where no one seemed to know what to do, one person stepped forward, Olivia. She had been a nurse there for years, used to handling all kinds of emergencies, but let's face it, tigers weren't part of her training. Still, something inside her said, "I have to act." While everyone else was busy hiding or running away, Olivia stood still in the hallway, watching the tiger. She noticed something no one else seemed to see. Despite its size, claws, and teeth that could scare anyone, the tiger didn't seem angry. It looked tired, wet, and, most importantly, worried. It was as if it was asking for help, and that touched Olivia in a way she couldn't explain. She took a deep breath, her heart racing, but started walking. Without drawing attention, without sudden movements, she got closer. Each step brought a chill down her spine, the kind you feel when doing something incredibly risky. But Olivia knew she had to trust her instincts. The tiger looked at her, and for a second, she almost turned back. But then she saw the cub in its mouth. It was small, fragile looking, its eyes barely open. It was injured, and Olivia understood the tiger was there for the cub. "Easy there, big guy. I just want to help," she said in the calmest voice she could manage. The tiger didn't react, just observed her. It seemed to understand Olivia didn't mean any harm. Then, she did something even braver. She pulled out a flashlight from her pocket and gently pointed it toward a door at the end of the hallway. There was an empty room there where they could be safe. Moving slowly, Olivia began guiding the tiger, step by step. It hesitated, glancing around, but followed her. And so, under the watchful eyes of those hiding behind doors, she managed to lead the animal to the isolated room. When they arrived, Olivia closed the door gently and finally exhaled in relief. But the tension wasn't over. She knew the cub needed help, and the tiger wasn't going to let just anyone get close. So, with all the care in the world, Olivia approached. She grabbed a clean towel, some warm water, and sat on the floor a few feet away. "It's okay, buddy. I'm going to help both of you, all right?" she said, trying to sound as calm as possible. The tiger lay down, wrapping its paws protectively around the cub but showing no signs of aggression. It was as if it was waiting for Olivia to do something. Slowly, she moved closer. Her heart was pounding so hard it felt like it might explode. But she pressed on. When she finally got close enough, she saw the cub's injuries, small cuts, scratches, and it was very thin. Olivia extended her hand slowly, and to her surprise, the tiger didn't stop her. That's when she realized the tiger trusted her. It knew Olivia only wanted to help. With the utmost care, Olivia cleaned the cub's wounds. The little one whimpered softly, like a faint cry, but seemed to relax as she worked. The tiger watched her every move like a protective parent but showed no aggression. Olivia felt this was a special, one-of-a-kind moment. She didn't know where the tiger had come from or how it had gotten there, but one thing was clear: it loved that cub and would do anything to protect it. Before we continue, Leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel if you love animals and their heartwarming stories. After Olivia managed to calm the tiger and care for the cub, it became clear this situation was beyond anything the hospital staff could handle. After all, it's not every day you have a tiger in the hallway, right? That's when they called someone who truly knew what to do, Dr. Charlotte. She was a wildlife specialist with years of experience handling big cats. If anyone could help, it was her. When Charlotte arrived, the hospital looked like a scene from a movie. People were peeking around corners, whispers filled the air, and the isolated room where the tiger and its cub were being kept was guarded by security officers unsure if their job was to protect the people or keep the animal from escaping. But none of this intimidated Charlotte. As soon as she saw the tiger through the window of the door, she realized it wasn't there to harm anyone. This animal didn't come here to cause trouble. It's here because it needs help, she said, looking at Olivia, who was still in the room with the two of them. Charlotte requested to enter the room alone. It was risky, but she knew the tiger needed a calm environment. As soon as she walked in, silence fell. The tiger lifted its head and locked eyes with Charlotte, its gaze intense. She remained calm, lowering herself to appear less threatening, and began speaking softly and gently. "Hey, buddy. It's okay. I know you're just trying to protect that little one," Charlotte said, glancing at the cub. The tiger didn't growl or retreat. It simply observed her, as if evaluating whether it could trust her. Charlotte knew she needed to proceed slowly. She sat on the floor, not too close, but close enough to show she wasn't a threat. After a few minutes, she began talking to Olivia. "You've done an amazing job, you know? Not everyone would have the courage to stay here with him. Now we need to figure out what's going on with this cub," said Charlotte as she carefully pulled out a small bag with basic instruments. Olivia took a deep breath. Despite her initial fear, she felt deeply connected to the moment. There was something profoundly moving about the tiger and its cub. When Charlotte began approaching the little one, the tiger just watched, attentive but not aggressive. It seemed to understand that these two women were there to help. Charlotte performed a preliminary examination on the cub. It was smaller than expected, very thin, with visible wounds on its body. But what caught her attention were the unusual patterns in its fur. They weren't the typical stripes of a tiger. There was something unique about them, something Charlotte couldn't quite explain. "Olivia, this is more than it seems. This cub might be special. I'm not saying that just because of the tiger's behavior, but also because of its appearance. We need to run more tests to understand what's going on," Charlotte said, already thinking of how to get the cub to a safer place without separating it from the tiger. Meanwhile, Olivia couldn't help but notice something. The tiger completely trusted Charlotte. It was as if it knew she was there to help. It didn't make any sudden moves, keeping its intense gaze fixed on her like a watchful guardian. Charlotte, on the other hand, stayed focused on the cub, examining every detail while remaining fully aware of the tiger's imposing presence. After a few minutes, Charlotte stood up slowly and looked at Olivia. "We're going to need a better place to continue this. We don't have the right conditions here at the hospital, and this cub is very fragile. The tiger won't leave its side, so we need to find a way to transport them together without causing more stress to either of them." Olivia nodded. She knew this was bigger than anything she could have imagined. What had initially seemed like a nightmare, a tiger invading a hospital, had transformed into a story of care, courage, and an unlikely connection between humans and wild animals. The next step would be critical. They'd need to work as a team to ensure that this mother, or father, no one was sure yet, tiger and its cub had a chance to survive and, perhaps, reveal something no one expected. But how do you move a tiger and its cub without creating total chaos? Charlotte already had a plan. And it was time to put it into action. When Dr. Charlotte and Olivia finally managed to transport the tiger and its cub to a safer location, things became even more intriguing. They were taken to a wildlife rescue center where specialists could care for both animals properly. But no one was prepared for what they were about to discover. Upon arrival, a team of veterinarians and biologists gathered to assess the cub. While the adult tiger was kept in a comfortable, secure space where it could observe everything, the cub was carefully examined. It was still fragile but seemed to be responding well to the care. Charlotte, with her keen eye, watched every detail closely. During these examinations, something caught their attention. The cub's stripes weren't like those of typical tigers. In fact, they were unlike anything they had ever seen. Moreover, some physical traits, like the shape of its head and body structure, didn't quite match the adult tiger's species. It was as if the cub was unique. "Olivia, this isn't normal. This little one might be something truly special," Charlotte said as she analyzed the test results. The specialists decided to run genetic tests. They wanted to confirm if the cub was simply an unusual tiger or something even rarer. The team waited anxiously for the results. When the results finally arrived, the room fell silent. The tests indicated that the cub had genetic traits from a species no one expected. It might be a descendant of an animal thought to be extinct, the Tasmanian tiger. It was unbelievable. "Are you telling me this cub might be a descendant of a species no one has seen in decades?" Olivia asked, her eyes wide with shock. "Not just might be, it's highly likely. This changes everything. If confirmed, we're talking about one of the greatest discoveries in recent history," Charlotte replied, a mix of excitement and concern in her voice. This revelation brought a new weight to the situation. It was no longer just about saving a tiger and its cub. Now, they were facing something that could impact science, environmental conservation, and even how people view nature. Charlotte knew this also increased their responsibility. If the news leaked prematurely, it could attract curious onlookers, poachers, and even animal traffickers. They needed to act quickly and carefully to protect the cub. Meanwhile, the adult tiger remained vigilant, watching every move the team made. It seemed to understand that these people were there to help. And Olivia, who could barely believe everything that was happening, felt that her courage on that stormy night had been more important than she could have ever imagined. But one question still lingered: where exactly had this tiger and its cub come from? The mystery deepened, and the team knew that to protect this discovery, they needed to uncover the pair's entire backstory. While the cub received all the attention from scientists and veterinarians, the question on everyone's mind was, where did this tiger come from? How had it appeared at the hospital, carrying a cub that could be such an important scientific discovery? It seemed that every answer only brought more questions. Charlotte and Olivia couldn't ignore this. If the tiger had made it to the hospital, it meant something bigger was going on. They began their investigation. First, they searched the area around the hospital, looking for any clues about how it could have arrived. The city was bordered by forest in some areas, but a tiger walking through busy streets? It would have been impossible for it to go unnoticed. The answer came from an unexpected source. A local resident remembered something they'd heard. An old abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of the city was being used suspiciously. Some people said it was just a storage site, but others mentioned hearing animal noises coming from there. Charlotte felt a chill run down her spine as she listened. "Olivia, I think we're dealing with something bigger. This tiger didn't just show up out of nowhere. It might be part of an animal trafficking scheme," Charlotte said, already imagining the worst-case scenarios. With the help of authorities, a team was sent to investigate the warehouse. What they found there was heartbreaking. Rusty cages, filth everywhere, and clear signs that wild animals had been kept there. Some of the cages were open, suggesting that the tiger might have escaped during the storm. Even more disturbing, there were documents and records that confirmed their suspicions. This location was an illegal holding site for exotic animal trafficking. The scene was horrifying. It was clear that many animals had suffered there, without proper care and with no chance of living freely. Olivia could barely look at the empty cages, imagining what those creatures must have endured. "Now it makes sense," Charlotte said, analyzing one of the documents. "This tiger must have found the cub here. It's probably been trying to protect it ever since. Its survival instincts outweighed everything else." The revelation brought a much bigger issue to light: animal trafficking. Beyond caring for the cub and the tiger, they now had to ensure the perpetrators were brought to justice. It wasn't just about saving these two, but also about stopping this from happening again. Meanwhile, the tiger, now calmer at the rehabilitation center, seemed exhausted but determined. Charlotte and Olivia began to see the animal not just as a wild creature but as a true hero. It had risked everything to save a cub that, as far as they knew, wasn't even its own species. After the investigation and the discoveries at the abandoned warehouse, It became clear that the tiger and the cub needed a safer place. The rehabilitation center wasn't equipped to care for them long-term, especially considering the growing attention the story was beginning to attract. It was only a matter of time before the media and others started asking more and more questions about the case. Charlotte gathered the team and explained the next step. We need to transfer these two to a specialized facility. A place where they can recover, far from any threats, especially for the cub. Their situation is delicate, and we can't take any risks. Olivia, who already felt emotionally connected to the two, was concerned. What if the tiger doesn't want to go? It trusts us here, but will it accept being moved somewhere else? She asked, looking at Charlotte. That's a valid concern, Olivia, but it's already shown that it understands our intentions. If we handle this the right way, it will cooperate, Charlotte replied, her voice firm but reassuring. The plan began to take shape. They needed an experienced team, proper transportation, and, most importantly, a calm approach. The tiger was exhausted but still a wild animal, and any sudden movement could cause serious problems. On the day of the transfer, the tension was palpable. A specially equipped truck arrived at the rehabilitation center with a spacious, comfortable enclosure filled with blankets and items to make the environment less intimidating. The goal was to ensure the tiger didn't feel threatened. Charlotte and Olivia were tasked with calming the tiger and the cub. They entered the room together while the team waited outside. The tiger lifted its head and looked directly at them. It seemed to know that something was about to happen. "Hey, big guy, it's going to be okay. We just want to take you somewhere safe where you and the little one can be protected," Olivia said in that calm voice that seemed magical to the animal. Moving slowly, Charlotte placed a bit of fresh meat near the entrance of the cage on the truck. The tiger approached cautiously, analyzing every detail. It was wary but also seemed to understand they meant no harm. The cub, still wrapped in a blanket, was carefully placed beside the tiger. As soon as it saw the cub there, the tiger relaxed a little more. It stepped into the cage with careful movements, never taking its eyes off Olivia and Charlotte, as if to say, "I trust you, but don't let me down." When the door was securely closed, the team breathed a sigh of relief. There were no growls or sudden movements. Everything went exactly as planned, thanks to the bond Charlotte and Olivia had built with the tiger. The transfer was accompanied by police and specialists to ensure nothing went wrong along the way. Their destination was a specialized big cat center known for its work in rehabilitating and protecting rescued animals. Upon arrival, the tiger and the cub were placed in a much more suitable environment, surrounded by professionals ready to care for them. Olivia watched from a distance as the tiger explored its new space. It seemed less anxious, perhaps even relieved. The cub, now more stable, was safe by its side. "I think it understands that it's safe now," Olivia said with a tired but proud smile. Charlotte nodded, but she knew this was just one step in a journey filled with challenges. The tiger and the cub were safe for now, but there was much more work to be done to protect not just these two but other animals facing similar threats. And now, with the media starting to pay attention to the story, the pressure was only beginning. With the tiger and the cub finally secure at the specialized center, it was time to delve deeper into what made the cub so special. Preliminary tests had already suggested it might be a descendant of an extinct species, but now it was time to confirm or rule out that possibility. The team of specialists at the center began their work carefully. It was a delicate operation. The cub was more stable but still very fragile. They collected blood samples, conducted imaging tests, and analyzed even the smallest details of its fur, teeth, and bone structure. Meanwhile, the adult tiger continued to watch them, always attentive to what they were doing with the cub. It seemed to say, "Take care of him as if he were your own." Charlotte stayed with the specialists throughout the process. She knew this cub could be the key to something bigger. Olivia, though not a biologist or veterinarian, also refused to leave their side. Ever since the tiger entered the hospital, she felt a special connection with the two of them. The results began to come in, bringing the first confirmations. The cub indeed showed genetic traits uncommon in modern tigers. More than that, the data revealed a strong link to the Tasmanian tiger, a species thought to be extinct for decades. This discovery was met with a mix of excitement and concern. "This is huge, Charlotte. "We're talking about a discovery that could change everything we know about species conservation," one of the scientists said, his eyes glowing with excitement. But Charlotte, despite her own enthusiasm, understood there was another side to this story. "Yes, but we're also talking about something that will attract a lot of attention. Let's not forget that animal trafficking is a reality. We need to protect these two at all costs," she replied, glancing at the tiger, which rested in a corner but still kept its eyes on the cub. The tests also revealed something else important. The cub still needed intensive care. It showed signs of severe malnutrition and internal injuries that would require ongoing treatment. For the team, this meant their work was far from over. Olivia, who until then hadn't understood much about genetics or extinct species, asked, "And if we confirm that it's truly a descendant of an extinct species? What happens then?" Charlotte took a deep breath before answering. "In that case, the priority will be to protect it and ensure it has the right conditions to grow and thrive. But it also means we'll need to be extremely cautious. Any mistake could endanger not just the cub but also our chance to learn more about its species." With each new piece of data that emerged, the team's emotions oscillated between pride and responsibility. They were facing a unique opportunity but also an enormous challenge. The world would soon learn about the cub and the tiger, and this would bring not only support but also individuals and interests that could jeopardize everything. Meanwhile, Olivia couldn't take her eyes off the cub. It looked so small, so vulnerable, yet so significant. She vividly remembered the moment she saw the tiger carrying it into the hospital, as if entrusting its hope to humans. It was as if the tiger was saying, "Do better than you've done so far." And that was exactly what they were determined to do. Protecting the cub and the tiger wasn't just a matter of science, it was a matter of honor. They represented not just a species but a larger fight for the preservation of wildlife in a world that often fails to value what truly matters. Now, with the initial results in hand, Charlotte, Olivia, and the entire team knew they were at the beginning of a battle that could change the course of history. With confirmed results that the cub exhibited traits of an extinct species, the world was swept by a wave of surprise and curiosity. Charlotte and the team knew they couldn't keep this secret for long. It was necessary to share what was happening with the public, but in a way that prioritized the safety of both the cub and the tiger. A press conference was organized at the specialized center. Scientists, environmentalists, journalists, and even representatives from international organizations were in attendance. The room was packed, cameras focused on Charlotte and Olivia, who had now become the faces of this incredible story. Charlotte began by explaining the facts, how the tiger appeared at the hospital, the rescue of the cub, and the test results. When she displayed images and spoke about the illegal captivity, the room fell completely silent. Every word she spoke seemed to carry more weight than the last. This cub is not just a rare animal. It represents an opportunity for us to reflect on the impact of our actions on the natural world. It survived because a tiger, possibly from the same captivity, risked everything to protect it. "This is a call to all of us," Charlotte said, her voice steady and resolute. Olivia, who had so far stayed in the background, also spoke. She recounted what it was like to be in the tiger's presence for the first time, the fear she felt, but also the connection she sensed. "He trusted me and Charlotte to take care of the cub. I can't explain it, but it felt like he knew we needed to do the right thing. And now, it's up to all of us to keep doing the right thing," Olivia said, her voice filled with emotion. Images of the tiger and the cub captured the world's heart. Social media exploded with messages of support, and the story made headlines across all continents. But the attention also brought new challenges. International organizations began mobilizing to offer support, both financial and logistical, to protect not just these two but other animals in similar situations. Environmental groups launched fundraising campaigns, and governments began reviewing their policies on animal trafficking. The case sparked a global wave of awareness, highlighting the impact of trafficking and the importance of preserving endangered species. Ordinary people were moved by the story, and volunteers came from everywhere to help. But the most important part was yet to come, ensuring this attention resulted in real change. Charlotte, Olivia, and the entire center's team decided to use the case as a symbol of the fight for preservation. They created a foundation dedicated to protecting wildlife and combating the trafficking of exotic species. The tiger and the cub became ambassadors for this cause, their names representing hope and resilience. Charlotte summed up the mission perfectly during one of the Foundation's meetings. This cub is more than a scientific discovery. He's a reminder that there's still time to do the right thing. But we need to act now. Olivia, for her part, decided not to return to her old routine at the hospital. She found a new purpose, helping the Foundation and dedicating herself to educating people about the importance of protecting nature. The tiger and the cub continued to thrive under the care of the center, growing strong and healthy but always surrounded by security measures to ensure their safety. In the end, what began as a storm and an unexpected encounter at the hospital transformed into a global movement for wildlife conservation. The tiger, with its courage, and Olivia, with her empathy, showed the world that big changes can start with small acts of bravery. And the legacy of that moment lives on, inspiring people to care not just for animals but for the entire planet. Thank you so much for watching the video until the end. Remember to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and share your opinion about this story in the comments.